गीता भवन में आ रहे हैं,
आ गए लिखूं?
आ रहे हैं,
कोई तो लिख रहा था।
हाँ, आ रहे हैं। उनका स्वागत हमारे हो रहा है। भजन कीर्तन सब।
हाँ, वो गजदेव जी है ना,
गजपति महाराज।
चलो गजदेव महाराज दिखा था, आप देखिए एक बार अच्छे से, मैं दिखाता हूँ।
भगवान नाम चलता रहे, ठाकुर जी का नाम चलता रहे। और हमारे दीपक जी प्रभु जी 2-3 भक्तों को लेकर के बाहर चलेंगे और बखावज और बाजी के साथ उनको स्वागत करते हुए जय जगन्नाथ बोल करके, और जब तक हमारा कीर्तन अनवरत चलता है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। कृपया सभी ना जाएं, सभी भक्त इधर बैठे रहें। बस 2-3 भक्त आप वहां पर जाएंगे बाहर। कृपया सभी यहाँ पर बैठे रहें और उनके स्वागत के लिए उन्होंने आदेश दिया है कि यहीं पर भजन कीर्तन करते रहें, कोई बाहर ना आए।
ये लाना है?
Thank you so much for being here. चला आता हूँ। पहले गाड़ी में से ऐसे निकलेंगे, फिर सिगरेट। डालना है ना, तो और दोबारा अंदर डालना है, डाल के देखा अंदर फिर बनेगा, अंदर ऊपर की फिर बाहर यहाँ ही सारे कर कागो धरो जैसे जो आएंगे कागो राजा रानी रानी तो फ्लावर डाले
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What's that for? Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. बंद करके करो ना, अंदर जाके फिर लगाना पड़ेगा। ठीक है, प्रभु कृपा। हाँ कृष्णा हरे हरे, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. ये महाराज नहीं करते
आओ आओ साथ में चलते हैं
बनाई नथिला सेटा हमें एटी प्रोजेक्ट करथिलु ऑनलाइन बढ़िया। कितने लोग देख रहे हैं वॉइस का होगा।
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा जी की श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा जी की श्री श्री जगन्नाथ धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी नयन पथगामी भवतु
सच्चिदानंद अकारण करुण कर्तुम अकर्तुम अन्यथा कर्तुम सर्व समर्थ भक्तवांछा कल्पतरु भगवान श्री जगन्नाथ जी की असीम कृपा से हमारे और आपके बीच में उनके ही अनुयायी, उनके ही पार्षद, उनके ही कृपा पात्र वहां से जगन्नाथ जी के श्री चरणारविंदों की रज लेकर के, वैसे तो यत्र तत्र सर्वत्र हमारे प्रभु विद्यमान हैं, लेकिन उनके चरणों के जो अनुयायी और जो भी मैं ठाकुर की कृपा और उनका पूर्ण आशीर्वाद लेके हम हमारे और आपके बीच में परम आदरणीय महाराजा श्री श्री गजपति महाराज श्री दिव्य सिंह देव जी महाराज का हम और आप सब हमारे मंदिर की तरफ से और हमारे सभी भक्तजनों की तरफ से बहुत बहुत मंगलमय स्वागत करते हैं। हरि बोल। और साथ में परम आदरणीय हमारी परम पूजनीय माता महारानी साहिबा लीलावती जी, जो कि महाराज जी के वाम अंग में विराजमान हैं, उनका भी हम बहुत बहुत स्वागत करते हैं। प्रभु की महती कृपा होती है तभी ऐसे दिव्य पुरुषों के हमें दर्शन होते हैं। ये तो बहुत बड़ी कृपा है ठाकुर की, जो कि यहाँ इस पाश्चात्य भूमि में महाराज श्री पधारे और हम सबके समक्ष में इस तरह से बैठने का हमें ये सौभाग्य प्राप्त हुआ है। भारत में दिव्य दर्शन है, तो इसलिए ठाकुर से आशीर्वाद और उनका ही कृपा, उनकी आशीर्वाद लेते हुए हमारे कमेटी के हमारे परम आदरणीय महन अंकल से मैं कहूँगा स्वागत करें महाराज जी। रेखा जी, आप महारानी जी का स्वागत करें। भद्रं कर्णेभिः श्रूयाम देवा भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्त्रीरङ्गैः पुष्टवागुं शस्तनु भ्रवसेमहि देवहितं जदायो शतमिन्युसरदो अन्त्यदेवा जत्रा नक्षग्राजरसन्तनूनां महान्। बोलिए जगन्नाथ जी महाराज की जय। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अभी रेखा जी के शब्द।
Namaskar. Good evening, everyone. Jai Jagannath. Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatu Me. Nilachara Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannathaya Te Namaha. Jagatananda Kandaya Prana हराय च नीलाचल निवासाय जगन्नाथाय ते नमः. It gives me immense pleasure to start this auspicious occasion by welcoming you, each one of you present today. It is our honor and privilege to welcome Gajpati Maharaj Shri Dibyasingha Deb and Rani Sahiba to our Gita Bhavan Hindu Temple, Manchester. Wonderful to see you all on this coronation celebration weekend, Sunday evening with us. I assure you, this evening will be memorable, knowledgeable and delightful. We have arranged a brief cultural program before the interactive session by Gajpati Maharaj on tradition of Lord Jagannath. Hereby, I am welcoming you, the Vimal Choski, the councillor, and Rahul Lau, the journalist. And also, I need to know the gentleman's name, please, if I missed anyone. Okay. Another gentleman, the MP called Navindu Mr. We are so honored to have you here, sir. Thank you for so much for giving your time to us. Okay. Now, Anjana Satpati will introduce our cultural program. Couple of items we kept for you. One dance and one little small presentation for the both beautiful, talented girls. I'm giving the mic to Anjana.
Thank you. Rekha ma'am, namaskar. I must thank all of you for being here. It's definitely going to be a memorable one. Our cultural program will start with Odissi dance, which is a recognized form of Indian classical dance, approximately 1,000-year-old, and it was initially performed only in temple by dedicated devotees called Maharis and Devadasis. The first Odissi performance was performed at Sun Temple, Konark, several hundred years ago. And unbelievable heritage that we belong to, and I'm so proud of our roots that took us global. Padma Vibhushan Guru Kalucharan Mahapatra has taken Odissi in a global platform. So, not taking much of your time, today I would like to introduce our little Odissi dancer. She's called Pranjal Nanda. She's 14-year-old, has been learning for the last 7 years, and she's going to perform a Mangala Charan called Jagannath Shtakam. What Jagannath Shtakam explains the relationship of Shri Krishna and transformation to Lord Jagannath. It also says how beautiful Krishna and how beautiful is the Kalindi Nadi where all the story started, and how Puri is famous for Baldeo, the biggest temple for Lord Jagannath, and we call him Bada Thakura. So this choreography has been, this song Jagannath Shtakam has been written by Adi Guru Shankaracharya. This is choreographed by Padma Shri Madhavi Mudgaon. The music, the singer is Sunanda Patnaik, and this is taught by Pranjal's Guru Premananda Sahu. Please keep silence and enjoy this devotional performance from Pranjal. thought it was a good start. So it's nice to see our Adya Sevaka with us. And it's also nice to see the younger generation taking the heritage forward. The amount of devotion that has been poured into us as Indian, as from Odisha, it's beyond many words. I'm going to move on to our next presentation. Is another young, energetic girl called Rishika Panigrahi. She's going to have a short talk on how Shri Jagannath came into view, a talk on Nila Madhava. Rishika, over to you.
Namaskar everyone, my name is Rishika Panigrahi and today I'm going to be talking about the story of Nila Madhava. First of all, I would like to thank the King of Puri, Gajpati Maharaj Shri Dibyasingha Deb, for attending this event, and I feel really blessed to be doing this speech in front of him and other honourable guests. So first, let us start with a prayer. You can all say this with me too. Om Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatu Me. Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatu Me. Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatu Me. Thank you. So now, let us begin. There are many different variations of this story. However, this is a generational story, so my father has told this to me. So it might be different to how you think of the story. First, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the backstory of Nila Madhava and how it originated. After the Mahabharata and towards the end of Treta Yuga, when Lord Krishna had finished all of his duties on earth, he was sitting behind some bushes when a hunter named Jara took the left foot of Lord Krishna to be the ear of a deer and shot the poisonous arrow towards his foot. Lord Krishna's foot fled, and when Jara came running over, he could do nothing in time to save him, and Lord Krishna left his material body. After the demise of the Lord, his heart took the shape of a blue stone, which is known as Nila Madhava. Nila Madhava was left in the forest until it was later traced by a tribal leader named Visvabasu, who could realize its divine nature. So he established the stone inside a cave and started worshipping it as Nila Madhava. Nila is blue and Madhava is another name of Lord Krishna. At the same time, the king of Puri, King Indradyumna, had a dream where a divine message came and told him, I am here as Nila Madhava. Please can you find me and build a temple for me? The king immediately the next day sent brahmanas all over the world in search of the Lord. But all of them came back empty-handed apart from one. Shri Dibyasingha, the royal priest, while in search of Nila Madhava, had found Biswabasu, who'd offered him to be his guest. Dibyasingha, meanwhile, fell in love with the beautiful daughter of the tribal leader, Lalita. They eventually got married and started living in the forest for some time. However, Dibyasingha started to notice that Biswabasu was going somewhere before sunrise and coming back with a lot of fragrant, lovely and mystical smells such as camphor and sandalwood. So he asked his wife Lalita about where Biswabasu was going, and she replied that her father is worshipping Nila Madhava secretly on the Nila hills. Dibyasingha then pleaded her wife Lalita to convince her father to take him to see this beautiful blue lord. However, Biswabasu disagrees, and after a lot of insisting from Dibyasingha, he finally agrees under the condition that he has to be blindfolded throughout the entire journey. Lalita, the clever wife of Dibyasingha, puts some mustard seeds in her husband's pocket which are dropped throughout the entire journey to the cave. These mustard seeds eventually grow into mustard plants, which help Dibyasingha trace the route to find Nila Madhava again. Dibyasingha then returns to Puri and tells the king about Nila Madhava, and the king becomes very happy and goes with Dibyasingha to see the Lord. They follow the mustard plants and come to the place where Nila Madhava is being worshipped. But they can't see Nila Madhava as it has completely vanished, disappeared. The king, disappointed, returns back to Puri and stops eating food in such sadness and grief. The king once again gets another divine dream, where a divine message comes and tells him, "Go to the seashore of Puri beach, and there you'll find me as a log of wood." So the king finds a log of wood and sends carpenters to carve the wood to make the idols. But none of them can even chop the wood because it is so hard. Finally, Vishwakarma, the architect of the gods, comes in the disguise as an old carpenter and agrees to make the idols. However, he has a condition. The condition was that he had to be locked and undisturbed in a sealed chamber for 21 days. The king agrees and the carpenter starts his work. But after 14 days, when Queen Gundicha passes by the sealed chamber, she can't hear any sound, like any chopping or chiseling sounds. She becomes very worried about the sculptor and pleads the king to open the door. Reluctantly, the king disagrees, and after a lot of pestering and begging, the king finally opens the door, and the Vishwakarma, true to his word, has completely vanished with the unfinished idols, Jagannatha, Balabhadra, and Subhadra. The king establishes the idols on God's will as they are in the Jagannath temple of Puri. Dibyasingha and Biswabasu's descendants still serve the Lord till date, and the king of Puri, Gajpati Maharaj, is the Adya Sevak of the Lord. In this picture, you can see Gajpati Maharaj is doing divine seva, or Chera Pohara, sorry if I pronounced it wrong, which is sweeping the chariot on Rath Yatra as part of his royal duties. I just wanted to tell you something. My favourite idol out of the three is Shubhadra, because the two brothers are just so big beside her, and she's just squeezed in the middle like a cute idol. So thank you for listening. Jai Jagannath.
Thank you so much, Dishika. What an amazing storyteller she is. She's going to be a really, really great storyteller and public figure soon. So without any more wasting of or taking anybody else's time, I'm going to hand over to our beloved dearest Mrs. Nabati to carry on the rest of the program.
Thank you, Anjana. Namaskar again to everyone. Joy Jagannath.
Jai Jagannath.
Now I'm going to give introduction about Gajpati Maharaj Shri Dibyasingha Deb. Namaskar, Pranam. Gajpati Maharaj Shri Dibyasingha Deb is the lineal descendant of the erstwhile kings of Odisha, who from the 12th century till the middle of the 16th century ruled as the paramount sovereigns over an extensive kingdom on the eastern seaboard of India, stretching from river Ganga in the north to the river Godavari in the south. One of the illustrious kings of the dynasty, Maharaja Deb, started the construction of the present magnificent temple of Lord Jagannath at Puri in the beginning of the 12th century, which was completed later by his successor, Maharaja Deb. This temple is one of the largest Hindu temples and is regarded as one among the 4 most sacred shrines for Hindus around the world. Among the 4 dhams, most sacred center of pilgrimage for Hindus, Shri Jagannath Puri is the principal dham for eastern India. The Gajapati kings, as the paramount sovereign rulers of the kingdom of Utkala, now known as Odisha, were also the supreme authority in the management of the affairs of Shri Jagannath temple. According to ancient tradition and customs, they performed ritualistic seva before Lord Jagannath as his Adya Sevak, first servitor, and dedicated the entire kingdom with all its resources at the lotus feet of the Lord. From the middle of the 16th century, the political power and position of the Gajapati kings gradually dwindled as they had to accept the suzerainty first of the Afghans and Mughals and then the Maratha powers. Their political position finally came to an end in the beginning of the 19th century when they unsuccessfully tried to resist the occupation of their kingdom by the English forces of the East India Company. The Gajapati king, however, continued to remain in charge of the affairs of Sri Jagannath temple as its sole trustee. After the independence of India, the state government of Orissa enacted a special legislation and in 1960 took over the. Since the Gajapati Maharaj is ancient times, at the same time he is discharging statutory duties as the chairman of the temple managing committee. Shri Gajapati Maharaj, I am giving now Gajapati ji. The Pranjal and Drisika, can you please come forward? Where are these 2 girls?
माइक लगा दो। जीवन स्टैंड स्टैंड।
Can we start now? Shri Jagannath Madhuru Shri Jagadguru Madatma Sarvabhutatma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. My wife and I are very happy to be here in Manchester. This is our second visit actually, but the first one where we have the opportunity of serving the Lord and having a wonderful satsang with you all. Today we are running late. We would like to congratulate the two lovely girls who made the presentation. The first one, Odissi, as you heard. Odissi originates from a dance in Jagannath Temple Puri since ancient times called Mahari dance. It's a dance dedicated to the Lord. In the Jagannath Temple of Puri, the ladies were given two very important sevas. In the Jagannath Temple of Puri, there is seva allocated to each segment of the society. No segment or sector of the society was ignored. So the ladies were given two very important seva. One is the dance seva, and the second was the singing seva. The singing seva was based on the composition of Bhakta Kavi Jayadev, who composed beautiful devotional songs and prayers to Lord Jagannath. So these sevas continued for a long time till after independence, when it became difficult to continue for some reasons, and therefore it's now almost non-existent. However, it's wonderful that the Mahari dance which originated as a offering to the Lord has now gone around the world as Odissi dance. The second wonderful performance by Drishika Panigrahi. When we were small, we heard stories like this. And also many of our speakers earlier days, maybe 30, 40 years earlier, were speaking like this. But then it was found that the actual legend Katha of Lord Jagannath as given in the scriptures is quite different. And in our tradition, that is Sanatana Vedic Dharma, as in all traditions of the world, we go by the word of the scriptures, not by stories told by X, Y, and Z. We believe that what is expounded in the sacred scriptures, particularly the scriptures, the great scriptures compiled by Maharaj Shri Dibyasingha, are true and we have faith in it. That is our belief as Sanatani Vedic Dharma followers. So the real story is somewhat different, and I will try to present you. The point is, since we are running a little late, should I just make it short and make it sort of extempore, or because if you go into the slide, then you have to have the patience of at least 1.5 hours. Whereas if I make it concise, I can finish it within 1 hour. What is your choice? You have the time? Because you are all very busy people. Tomorrow is the holiday, bank holiday. That's bonus. Or is it because of the coronation of the king? By the way, let me tell you, you have kingship here. That's wonderful in UK. It's very good as a symbol of heritage, of history, of antiquity. In India, all that came to an end. India is a democracy, as we all know. There are no kings and queens, okay? I do not know why you have this big chair for us. I really don't approve of it. In the previous place, they put chairs like this, and I said, please remove those chairs. Because we are all citizens of independent India. And we all are doing our own jobs, whether we are born into it or whether we elect to do it. So I was born into it and she was dragged into it. So this is the tradition of Lord Jagannath, where the sovereign kings of Utkal Pradesh or Kalinga, since ancient time as it was known, devoted themselves, dedicated themselves, as well as the entire Kalinga Utkal Empire at the feet of the Lord. And this is that the Lord is the Malik. He is the king, he is the emperor, and we are only his servant. So this is the great tradition, not only of Utkal Pradesh, it was there throughout India, because this is a part of our Vedic tradition. And so, for instance, in Travancore, the Maharaja of Travancore is known as the Padmanabha Dasa. Just like in Jagannath Puri, Adya Sevak Parampara, in Travancore, Padmanabha Dasa. Fortunately for me, I can skip, I don't have to go there every day. And in the important festivals only, I have my seva. And there is a monthly seva also, Aarti and all that. But fortunately for me, I have the arrangement of a proxy. There is a sevak, a priest, who we nominate on an annual basis every year. And he performs the seva on my behalf before Lord Jagannath in the temple. I don't have to be there, so I can skip. Of course, I make it a point to be there on the major festivals like Rath Yatra. However, the Maharaja of Travancore doesn't have that choice. if he doesn't go a single day for the seva of Lord Padmanabha, he has to pay a penalty. So Lord Jagannath has been kind to us. So this is a part of the Vedic tradition, because India is a spiritual country with a spiritual tradition, with a spiritual culture, with a spiritual lifestyle. That is the Vedic tradition from which we have drifted quite far away due to the modern influences and the materialistic currents which are very powerful today in the last 100 years or so. With that, let us start the narration of the story of Lord Jagannath, which will be somewhat different from what you heard from Rishika. Okay? Because I will tell you what is given in the scriptures, not what is heard by word of mouth and looks interesting, good for a movie. And in fact, movies have been made on that line. Actually, what has happened is that the Puranas composed by Maharishi Dibyasingha has been subsequently sort of developed and narrated by devotees later on. And when the devotees, they try to expound the same story, they come with their own thoughts and their own religious feelings and devotion, and so the variation happens. For instance, in the 16th century, we had a great saint poet called Sarada Dasa, who wrote the story of Lord Jagannath more or less in the line of what Rishika said. Okay, but this is not what has been written by Maharishi Dibyasingha, as we will see very, very soon. So let us start with the narration. Now, as I said, we do believe that what is stated in our scriptures is absolutely the God's word, because Sanatana Vedic Dharma originates with the Lord Himself. It is apaurushaya, means it is not man-made, it is not prophet-made. Of course, prophets do remind us, do expound it from time to time, but it originates from the Lord Himself, the Supreme Lord Himself. And this great spiritual wisdom has come down through the Rishi Parampara, and somewhere down the line it was compiled into the 4 Vedas by Maharishi Dibyasingha. Now, all the gods and goddesses whom we worship in our tradition, their glory is really expounded in the Puranas. We find a complete, exhaustive, comprehensive narration in the Puranas, which comes much later. Maharishi Dibyasingha composes it much later, after having composed and compiled the Vedas. So in the Vedas, we find very little mention of our gods and goddesses whom we worship now. But for Lord Jagannath, there is mention right from the beginning in the first Veda, which is, which one? Rig Veda. Rig Veda is the world, mankind's most ancient and the first spiritual literature, sacred scripture. And in the Rig Veda we find this in the 10th mandala, this mantra, Ado Yaddaru Plavate Sindhu Purusham, which in English can be translated, has been translated by the Acharyas to mean, there exists on the seashore in a far-off place the image of a deity of the name Purushottama. Lord Jagannath is actually referred in the scriptures, both in the Vedas as well as in the Puranas, as Purushottama, also as Jagannatha, but more as Purushottama. And the concept of Purushottama is well expounded in Bhagavad Gita. Which chapter? 15. Chapter 15. Okay? And there it is made clear to us, Purushottama is the Supreme Lord. Purushottama is not Avatara the Purushottama is the avatari. And from Purushottama, all the avatars come in different ages, in different yugas. So Purushottama in our scriptures referred to as Paramatma or as Param Brahma, Parameshwara. So here Lord is known as Purushottama, and the mantra goes on to say, which is made of wood, floating as it were in the sea. By worshipping that wood, indestructible, attain the supreme place of the Vaishnava. A similar mantra is also found in the Atharva Veda. So the significance and the uniqueness of the tradition of Lord Jagannath also is indicated by the fact that there is direct mention in the Veda and in the most important of all the Vedas, which is Rig Veda. Then, of course, later on in the Puranas, in several Puranas, there is the Katha of Lord Jagannath, including Brahma Purana, which is among the most ancient of our 18 major Puranas, and also in various other Sanskrit scriptures and texts there is mention of Lord Jagannath. However, it is in the Skanda Purana that we have the most exhaustive narration of the glory of Lord Jagannath. Skanda Purana is the most voluminous of all our 18 Puranas, of all the Puranas. It's even more voluminous than Srimad Bhagavad Mahapurana. And Skanda Purana contains the glory and the significance of all places of worship in Bharat. And in the second part of Skanda Purana, which is known as Vaishnava Khanda, in the second chapter is the glory of Lord Jagannath, which is titled Purushottama Kshetra Mahatmya or Utkala Khanda, containing 60 chapters. So we generally narrate the glory of Lord Jagannath based on the Skanda Purana and the narration in Purushottama Kshetra Mahatmya in Vaishnava Khanda. And the story begins like this. This is some time way back in ancient India, Vedic times, the Rishi Parampara, where the Rishis used to live in the forest hermitages. And here we have Maharshi Jaimini holding a discourse session with his disciples who are all Rishis. And suddenly one of the disciples, Rishi, asks this question to Maharshi Jaimini that, oh Maharshi, you had mentioned some time back about the Supreme Lord having taken a wooden form and having manifested in Purushottam Dhama. How did that happen? Please do explain to us. And that's how the Katha begins. And actually, Maharshi Jaimini says that he had been traveling in the Himalayas and to the Kailash region, and there he found Lord Skanda. Skanda is the son of Shiva, Kartikeya. And he is narrating the story to all the Gandharvas and divine beings and the Rishis there because he has heard it from his father, Shiva. This is how the tradition or this Katha comes down to us. And Maharshi Jaimini is narrating it. Now, he begins like this, that, there is this phenomena, which is the word cosmic phenomena, as we understand in our Sanatana scriptures, the entire universe manifesting and then after some time dissolving completely. This becomes a total non-existence, and then again there is manifestation, there is again creation. There is creation, there is dissolution, then there is creation, it's cyclical. This is what we believe. And who does this? It is done by Lord. This creation is done by Lord Brahma, who is appointed by the Supreme Lord. Now, since this Katha is in Vaishnava Khanda, the Supreme Lord is seen as Vishnu or Mahavishnu. So when we talk of Lord Vishnu, here we mean Supreme Lord. When we put the three main deities of our Sanatana Dharma, that is Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, together, then it becomes the Supreme Lord. If you put all the gods and goddesses together, then it becomes the Supreme Lord. So since this katha is found in the Vaishnava Khanda, the Lord is understood, conceived as Vishnu or Mahavishnu. So Brahmaji, having created the universe after the night time, when night time on Brahma there is complete dissolution, and when the day of Brahma begins, he has to create again, put things in the right places, all the galaxies and all the systems. And he feels that, look, this is getting very tiring. Every time I have to do it, and then there is dissolution, again I have to do it. Can there not be an end to it? So how can there be an end to it? And Brahma obviously realizes that there's only one being, Supreme Being, who can give him the solution. So he prays to the Supreme Lord, and then the Supreme Lord appears. And as I said, the Supreme Lord here is Lord Vishnu. And he appears on Garudji and tells Brahmaji, look, I know what you have in mind, but how is it possible? Because this cosmic world drama is my creation, it is my desire, it is my will. How do I change it? However, Brahmaji is Lord's child, the Lord's own creation. He says that I cannot refuse you, therefore I will tell you a secret which is not known even to you, even though you created the entire universe and the worlds. The secret is that you go to this Purushottama shetra. Lord Vishnu describes on this planet Earth, there is this place where you will find me just as you find me here. Just like this is my home in Vaikuntha Dham, that is also my home. You go there and slowly the mystery will be revealed to you, which you don't know. So Brahmaji goes there and has darshan of Lord Vishnu. So the Lord there, this is in Purushottam Kshetra. This is way back, we do not know when this happened. Lord Vishnu, Sankachakra Gadadhari Vishnu, and next to him is Mahalakshmi, and interestingly Mahalakshmi is holding a veena, and above them is Ananta Vasudev in the form of a serpent. In Kshir Samudra, in his original abode, also you have seen so many pictures of Lord Vishnu lying on Ananta Vasudeva. So here also Ananta Vasudeva is there, who later becomes Lord Balabhadra, or Lord Shiva. And then you have Garudji kneeling and praying to the Lord, and Sudarshan Chakra, assuming forms mini Vaishnava Vishnu form for 400, is also worshipping Lord. And Brahmaji comes there and says, I did not know that the Lord is here also. And he starts praying. As Lord Brahmaji is praying there, suddenly a crow is flying from somewhere very far away. The crow is tired, and then there is a pool of water below where Lord Vishnu is there, and the crow sees the water, goes into the water, has a bath, and then drinks water, and then looks up at Lord and sees Lord Vishnu, and immediately he drops his body as a crow. The crow body is dropped, and he assumes the form of almost like Lord Vishnu, 400, and goes to the side of Lord Vishnu. Now Brahmaji is astonished, and he immediately realizes that by the very vision, darshan of Lord Vishnu, this crow, this lowly creature which I have created, can become liberated. Then what to speak of human beings and all other creatures? I am going to spread the word around. And then everyone comes here in due course and sees Lord Vishnu and gets liberated. And when everyone is liberated, there is no death, then there is no creation which I have to do. Because when there is some karma which leads to death, then there has to be once again life. Because the karma is the seed. And if the seed is there, it's going to sprout. It has to sprout to exhaust the karmas. So when the seed is finished, there is no seed, there is no sprouting. When there is no cause, there is no effect. The entire cosmic drama is an effect. So he is very happy. And as Lord Brahma is rejoicing, there comes Lord Yamaraj, very agitated and confused, saying, "Oh Lord, If there is no death, why have you created me? What happens to my department? And Lord Vishnu is there in a bit of a fix. He says, well, yes, that is true. I have created Brahmaji, I have created Yamarajji, and they have to do the jobs, but looks like they'll run into problem now. What to do? So as it happens in our households also, when the husband has a problem, he passes on to the better half. So Lord Vishnu looks at Mahalakshmiji, and now you take over and see how you can resolve the situation, this issue. Now Mahalakshmi explains to Lord Yama that, look, what you are thinking that we disappear from here so that no one knows about us, and therefore there is no darshanat mukti, no one is liberated just by having our darshan. How is it possible? Because this is our home. This is our eternal home, and we cannot be absent from here. And Mahalakshmi ji explains to Yamaraj that even when there is pralaya, Mahapralaya, the night time of Brahma, there is no object, there is no matter, everything is dissolved into sort of seed form, and there is no creation. Now, even then, there are some Chiranjeevis who are there, and one of them is Maharishi Markandeya. So, Mahalakshmi is explaining that this Maharishi Markandeya, during the night time of Brahma, when there is Mahapralaya, is not finding any place to take shelter, to get support. He sees us, and the vriksha is there, the Vata vriksha is there, and we are there. Lord Vishnu and Mahalakshmi. Nothing else exists, and we are there in this place. So how do we expect that we disappear from here? Even in Mahapralaya we are here in Purushottam Shetra. So then what to do? However, Lord Vishnu and Mahalakshmi find a solution. They said, look, we cannot leave this place, but we will disappear from this body of ours. The body here, as you heard, Rishika, is in the scriptures actually referred to as Nila Madhava because he is Vishnu, and Nila because he looks like sapphire gemstone, so like bluish looking. And so because Nila Mani Vigraha, it's written in the scriptures, so therefore Nila Madhava. So we will disappear from this form of ours which gives instant mukti, and however there will be a great emperor called Indradumna who will come in due course, and out of his devotion and his sacrifice, we will again reappear. But then it will not be darshanat mukti, it will be krama mukti, but our grace will be there for the entire creation. So with this, Lord Brahma and Yamaraj are happy, and they go back to their own lokas. So this is the background which the scriptures give us about how the Lord Nilamadhava disappeared, and how he reappears. It is because of this promise which the Supreme Lord made to Lord Yamaraj and also to Lord Brahma. So now we come back to the time of Maharaja Indradumna. Maharaja Indradumna is not the king of Puri or of Utkala or Kalinga. He is the supreme emperor of the known world, and his capital is not Puri, capital is Avanti Nagari. What is Avanti Nagari? Now it's known as Ujjain. The city of Ujjain was the capital of Maharaja Indradumna according to the scripture, and his core kingdom was known as Malwa Desha, Malwa kingdom, but he was the overlord, the supreme overlord of the entire known world at that time. And what is that time? This is very important. Satya Yuga of which Manvanta? Satya Yuga of the first Manvanta. And we are in the time period of the seventh Manvanta. So in between 6 Manvantars have gone. What does that mean? What does that mean? So let's have a look at it first. So we have 4 yugas, right? We are in which yuga? And what is the time period of the Kali Yuga according to the Vedic calculation? Bhagavad Mahapurana, 4,32,000. When you double it, it becomes Dwapar Yuga. When you add 4,32,000 to Dwapar, it becomes Treta. When you add 4,32,000 to Treta, it becomes Satya Yuga. And all these 4 yugas put together is known as Chatur Yuga. Now when this Chatur Yuga goes around 71 times, that is the time period of one Manu. Okay? So, Lord Jagannatha or Purushottama or the Supreme Lord in Purushottama Kshetra disappears and remanifests in the first Manvantar in the Satyuga, the second Satyuga, and now we are in the 7th Manvantar. So how many Chaturyugas have gone? How many Satya, Dwapara and Kali Yugas have gone? And in all those yugas the avatars have come. How many Krishnas, how many Ramas, how many Matsya, how many Kashyapa avatars may have come? See, but Lord Jagannath is there. So, before the Lord disappeared, he was there as Lord Vishnu. And the scriptures say that he was there in Purushottama Kshetra during the first 50 years of Lord Brahma's life. The first Parartha of Lord Brahma's life, the Supreme Lord was in Purushottama Kshetra in that form. And during the next 50 years of Brahma's life, he will remain in this wooden form. And so many yugas will come and go, so many avatars will come and go, but the Lord remains. Therefore, it is not correct to say that Lord Krishna, after the end of the Lord Krishna, the Lord Jagannath's manifestation happens, and that what we have Lord Jagannath is what came floating around the sea, which could not be burned. That is totally demolished by the scriptures, because Lord Jagannath is the Supreme Lord, and all the avatars come and go in so many yugas, in so many manvantars, but the Supreme Lord remains as he is. This is what the scriptures tell us. So let us go back to the first manvantar, the time of Maharaja Indradumna, when the Lord disappears and again reappears. Let's find out about that. But before that, these are the 14 Manus who come during the lifetime of Brahma. One day of Brahma, you have these 14 Manus coming. And after the one day of Brahma, there is the night time of Brahma, which is equivalent to the daytime. So just calculate, just think, it's mind-boggling. So this is what our Vedic philosophy and Vedic Shastras declare. So between the first Manvantar and now, there are 6 Manus have come and gone, which if we calculate is almost 200 crore human years. That's mind-boggling. So let's go back to now the first Manvantar, the time of Maharaja Indradumna, when the Lord disappears and again reappears. Let us look at that. So here is Avanti Nagari, that is modern Ujjain, and here is Jagannath Puri. And as I said, Maharaja Indradumna was the overlord, sovereign emperor of the known world. He had conquered everything that needed to be conquered. All the other kings were acknowledging his suzerainty, and he was the supreme king. So he was a great worshipper of Lord Vishnu, and he was a great king, emperor, and also a great devotee of the Lord. So in the morning he would worship Lord Vishnu in the temple, in his temple in Avantinagari. So one day after he's finished his worship, as he comes out, he discloses his innermost thoughts to his royal priest, saying that, look, I have got everything that I wanted in my life. There's nothing else I desire, nothing else to be done, nothing else to be fulfilled, except one desire of mine. And that is to serve the Lord himself. Not the image, not the deity we worship in temples, but the Lord himself. So please tell me where the Lord himself is. Not an image of the Lord, but the Lord himself. So the priest has got no answer because he doesn't know. So he asks the assembly of learned scholars and the yatis and the saints who are there, the rishis who are there in that assembly in the temple. Suddenly one very elderly looking person with a lot of matted hair stands up and says, "O king, I know that place because I have been there, and indeed the Lord himself is there." So, and he describes the location exactly, Gajpati Puri, and after the description, he suddenly vanishes. So the king understands that this is divine providence, this is a message from the Lord, and so we have to now go in search of it. So he sends all his emissaries in the direction of Purushottam Shetra, and his royal priest's younger brother, who's, as you heard from Rishika, whose name was Vidyapati, he exactly comes to Purushottam Shetra. And he is searching the whole place, not finding anything. He sees this huge mountain. He tries to go up, but he cannot find the way because it is so dense and there is no path going up to it. And he is tired and resting on retreat when he suddenly hears voices. He goes in the direction of the voices and finds a settlement, a small settlement of tribal people. In the scriptures, they are referred to as Savaras. And as he is looking on this little settlement, he sees an elderly person coming down from the hill. He goes up to him, introduces himself, and the Savara chief, of course, has heard. The Savara chief says that I am the Savara, chief of this Savaras here, the tribe here, and my name is Viswavasu, as you heard from Dishika. And he has heard of the Emperor Indradumna, who has not heard. So he is very happy that the priest of Maharaj Indradumna has visited their village. So he takes him to his hut and then says that you look very tired, so please let me serve you some food. And he arranges lovely, delicious food in front of the priest. The priest is surprised, says that, look, you are in the forest, you are forest dwellers living out of fruits and roots and what have you here, but this food that I see is looking divine. How do you get this in this forest? Now the tribal chief Viswavasu is in the problem. He says, look, if I tell the truth to this person, then the Lords will disappear. Because he has heard this from his ancestors, that if the presence of the Lord is known to anyone else, the Lords will disappear. But then he thinks that, look, if I lie, if I don't tell the truth to this person who is none other than the royal priest of Maharaja Indradumna, and a very learned Brahmin, I will be committing a sin. I can't sort of hide the truth from him. So he tells, yes, the Lord is here, and actually I go up the mountain and I see the Lord, but I have to hide and see, because from Lord Shiva, from Shiva Loka, Brahmaji from Brahma Loka, Indra Bhagwan, Vayu Indra from their lokas, they come down and they worship the Supreme Lord. They worship Lord Purushottama, that is Nilamadhava, and I am scared and I am hiding. And after they have worshipped and gone to the lokas, I quietly go, gather the prasadam and then bring it down to the village, and we all partake of the prasad, and because of that, we don't have any illness, no problems in our life. We are always happy and live a long time. Now Vidyapati is thrilled to get this news. Let us go. I am not going to have any food till I have had darshan of the Lord. So there is no Lalita here. So this is very good for a movie, you know, because hero and heroine to hona hai. Okay. So unfortunately, there is no mention of Lalita here. The priest has reached, and within hours they go up, because the priest says that I am not going to take any food, I am going to have darshan of the Lord, because this is the promise I have made, commitment I have made to the emperor. I must have first darshan of the Lord. So they go up and they have darshan of the Lord, and the priest is overwhelmed and starts praying. And very quickly the tribal chief says, look, it's getting dark and there are wild animals here, we can't stay here, we have to go down. So they come down and they spend the night together, and their mother is just filled with sand. There is the tree, the vriksha is there, but the lords are not there. Lord Vishnu, Mahalakshmi, Shesha Ananta, Garudji, Sudarshan, they just disappear. Rohini Kunda is there and the Vriksha is there. But this is not known to the priest because he's already left and is gone to Avanti Nagari. And he reaches Avanti Nagari and the king is delighted to have him back. And the king sees that this priest who has gone to Purushottam Kshetra is that there's a glow, there's a spiritual glow. And he's holding a garland which is also glowing. And Vidyapati comes and gives the garland to the king, and the king puts it on his body, and that he gets an ecstatic spiritual feeling. And then of course Vidyapati narrates the whole story, and the king says, wonderful, is delighted that finally we have come to know where the Lord himself is. So now let's go without wasting of time. And those in my kingdom who would like to accompany me are most welcome. I would like to spend the rest of my life worshipping, serving Lord Nilamadhava, the Supreme Lord in Purushottam Kshetra. So as the king is thinking like this, who comes to the palace? It is Maharishi Devrishi Narada. Devrishi Narada has been sent by his father. Who's Devrishi Narada's father? Lord Brahma. Because Lord Brahma knows that there is a lot of risk involved in this whole undertaking. And so Devrishi Narada has to guide the king for the successful completion of the mission for the remanifestation of the Lord. And so he sends Devrishi Narada there. Devrishi Narada comes and the king worships him. And Devrishi Narada says that your resolve is wonderful, it's absolutely perfect. And you must go to Purushottam Kshetra because that is what Lord Brahma has desired and has sent me. So whole night they spend discoursing, they don't sleep the whole night. And this is contained in the 10th chapter of Purushottam Kshetra Mahatmya. It's a beautiful discourse, actually discourse by Devrishi Narada explaining the 4 types of bhakti to Maharaj Shri. So it is something like Narada Bhakti Sutra, but it's beautifully given. You must study this 10th chapter of Purushottam Kshetra Mahatmya. Next morning, they all start off and they go towards Purushottam Kshetra. As they reach the boundaries of Utkal Pradesh, river Mahanadi, they are camping, and then the king of Utkal Pradesh, we do not know his name, it's not given in the scriptures. He comes, and of course everyone knows Maharaja Indradumna and his glory, and Devrishi Narada is also there. He says, O king, O emperor, I am there to serve you, and I will escort you to my kingdom. And so they proceed. Now when they reach Purushottam Kshetra, Devrishi Narada knows now the time has come to reveal the sad news to the king, to the emperor Indradumna. So when he tells Emperor Indradumna that, O emperor, the Lord is no longer here, the emperor is so grief-stricken that he loses his consciousness. And Devrishi Narada revives him, and the king starts lamenting, look, there is no reason for me to be alive, because my whole purpose of my life was to dedicate it to the service of the Lord, and since the Lord is not there, I might as well fast unto death in this sacred place and give up my body. I don't want to live anymore. But that's when Devrishi Narada tells him that no, this is not how it should happen, because Lord Brahma has sent me to you exactly for this reason, that you have to perform 1,000 Ashwamedha Yajnas in this place, sacred place, and then the Lord's will re-manifest, and this is what you have to do. So, of course, the emperor has complete faith in the words of Devrishi Narada and promises to do that. So then they go up to the place where Lord Vishnu, Lord Nilamadhava was, and have darshan of the place. Devrishi Narada shows this is where the Supreme Lord was, and they have darshan and they pray, and then they come down, and then the great yajna, Ashwamedha Yajna takes place, 1,000 Ashwamedha Yajna, one yajna every year, so 1,000 years. Mind you, this is Satya Yuga, so all this is possible. And also, in this great yajna, not only all the kings are invited of the known world, but also the gods from Indra downward, they're all invited, this Satya Yuga. And this whole yajna takes place for 1,000 years. The king and queen are in the yajna. Now we do not, the scriptures do not give us the name of the queen. The Rishika mentions as Gundricha, the scriptures are silent on this, so we can keep guessing. So the Ashwamedh yajna takes place successfully, and it is a great yajna in Satyuga. And towards the end of the yajna, early in the morning when Emperor Indradumna is doing his meditation, he has this vision of Lord Vishnu and Mahalakshmi in Vaikuntha. So he tells Naradaji that, look, I had this vision, and Maharaj Dibyasingha says, look, the time is coming, so we have to have patience. Now the Ashwamedh yajna is completed, and the ritualistic bath is to take place on the sea beach of Puri, and a platform has been prepared, and the server staff and officials who have prepared that bathing hut, they are there, and suddenly they see a huge object looking like a massive tree, looking like a tree, and glowing like reddish in color, and the top inside the waters and the roots up, and it looks like having 4 branches floating there in the sea. Suddenly it appears, and the whole place sort of is a glow. So they come running to the emperor and Dibyasingha and explain that this is what they've seen. Now Dibyasingha says the time has come, okay, let's go to the seashore. They go to the seashore and have darshan of this very strange object floating in the water. There is a divine voice there from the skies which says that bring this sacred tree-like object from the water and place it on a mandap. And then that same voice later on says that an old person will come saying that he will carve out the images and he will take 15 days. But he is not to be seen, the work is not to be seen, it is not to be heard. Therefore, having placed the sacred object on a mandap, huge mandap, you cover it and make enough sound by drums and all that, so that the work which is being done inside is not heard. And at the end of the 15 days, the Lords will remain as this is the divine voice. So Dibyasingha said that, King, this is what you have to do. So they placed the sacred tree-like looking object on the mandap. It's a huge mandap, and the location is where we have the Gundicha temple now. Who have been to Puri? Please raise your hands. You have seen Gundicha temple. That is where the Rath Yatra, when it happens, it is from the main temple, which is known as Sri Mandira. It goes up to Gundicha Mandira, because that is the birthplace of Lord Jagannath. Lord stays there for 7 days and again comes back. So it is that mandapa. There was no temple then. Mandapa was created, and even today, Gundicha temple is known as Adapa Mandapa. So, as the divine voice has declared, an old person comes, and the king says, oh yes, we have heard about you, and please go in and carve out a beautiful image of the Lord so that we can worship Him. We can't worship an object like this, so it has to be an image of the Lord which we can place in a temple and worship. That is our tradition. So the old carpenter, is supposed to be a carpenter, goes in, and for 15 days, as ordained by the divine voice, the chamber is kept closed. At the end of 15 days, the chamber is opened, and they find the Lords as we see them now, almost as we see them now. And there is no person inside there. That carpenter, so-called carpenter, is non-existent. He has disappeared, and the Lord has appeared like this. So, to jump the narration, just to understand what has happened here. Later on in the scriptures, Skanda Purana, Lord Brahma reveals the mystery, says that this so-called carpenter was not Vishwakarma, but was Lord Vishnu himself. Okay? And this strange tree-like looking object was none other than a part of Lord Vishnu himself. So what do we have here? We have Lord making himself out of himself. Not a man-made object, not a man-made deity. So it is the Lord making himself out of himself. This is the origin of the Lord Jagannath as we see him now. And why he appeared like this? It is something which we can't understand. And the Lord is making himself out of himself. Can we say that it is half-made? That the Lord made a mistake? No. The Lord cannot make a mistake, and the Lord cannot leave the job half done. The divine voice had said 15 days completed. Lord reveals himself in this form. That was his wish. Now, why he revealed himself in this form? It is for each one of us to start thinking. Okay? But here, this is where the scriptures and the great acharyas come to our aid. So let us say what the scriptures say on this. We have many statements in the scriptures, and one of them is found in Shweta Sutara Upanishad. The Upanishads is the concluding part of each Veda, and they contain the highest spiritual, philosophical, esoteric significance of the Vedas. So in Shweta Sutara Upanishad there is this stanza, Pani Pada, Yavana, Grahitaha, etc., which in English is translated as, He, the Supreme Being, is without hands, feet, and yet moves and grasps. He sees, though without eyes. He hears, though without ears. He knows whatever is to be known, and of him there is no knower. They speak of him as the first, the Purusha, and the great. A similar stanza is also found in Kaivalya Upanishad, Apani Padoham Achinta Shaktihi, which is translated as, I am without hands and legs, of incomprehensive power. I see without eyes, hear without ears, devoid of all forms. I am knowing everything, and there is none that knows me. I am ever pure knowledge. Such stanzas do give us an indication that the Lord really is something so divine that with our limited mind and intellect we cannot reach the unlimited, the infinite. The finite cannot reach the infinite. However, the Lord, because of His grace and compassion, manifests in various avatars from time to time for our upliftment, for our salvation, for our mukti. So here we'll just briefly mention what I think we could look at it this way. So Lord, all these gods and goddesses have a form which we can understand, but here Lord Jagannath has a form which we cannot understand. That is the whole point. The Lord's form is inexplicable. It cannot be understood. There is a form, but yet there is no form. So in our Sanatana Vedic Dharma, we have these two very distinct philosophical and spiritual thinking and schools of thought. One is that the Lord, Supreme Lord, is Nirguna Nirakar. He is without form and He is omnipresent, omnipotent and omniscient. He is everywhere. And therefore something which is everywhere, how can there be a form? Okay? The Supreme Lord is Nirakar and Nirguna. That is a very distinct Sanatana Vedic Dharma, philosophy and spiritual thinking. The other is that, no, the Lord has a form, a spiritual form, a completely divine form, a transcendental form, not a form of matter, but a divine form, a divine being. So the Lord is Sakara Saguna. And therefore we worship Him in many forms. Now both these thinkings, both these schools of thought come together in the form of Lord Jagannath. He is a form, yes, you can say the Lord is a form, and yet it's a form we can't understand, therefore He is also beyond all forms. He is all forms and also beyond all forms. As we will see, this is actually explained to us by Lord Brahma Himself, as we will see very shortly. So now what happens here? The Lord has manifested. The divine voice again says, okay, you have to now construct a temple for Lord Jagannath, and the temple has to be 1,000 cubits high. 1,000 cubits is 1,500 feet. Mind you, this is Satyuga. So the king, Emperor Indradumna gets all the kings who are his subordinates to pull in their resources, and they start constructing a huge temple for Lord Jagannath at the same place where the present temple is standing. So this temple built by Maharaja Indradumna, which was 1,500 feet high in the Satyuga, or the first Manvantar, was the Adi temple of Lord Jagannath. The temple is being constructed, and then Devashi Narada says, "O King, it's time for me now to go to Brahmaloka and give this good news to Lord Brahma that the Lord is manifested." Then Maharaja Indradumna falls down at the feet of Devashi Narada and says, "Oh Devashi, I would like to go with you because I would like to personally appeal to Lord Brahma to come down and install the Lords. Because who else will install the Lords in the temple other than Lord Brahma? No one else can." Now Devashi Narada says okay, because he understands that although Maharaja Indradumna has a human body, but through his 1,000 Ashwamedha Yagyas and devotion to Lord Vishnu, he has become so purified, he has become so pure. He says that okay, I will take you to Brahmaloka. So they go up to Brahmaloka. There Lord Brahmaji is having his audience, and once the audience finishes, Devashi Narada introduces Maharaja Indradumna. Indradumna Maharaja is trembling with fear. He is falling down, doing Dandavat Pranam, getting up and again falling down. Finally, he has the courage to plead to Lord Brahma, "Oh Brahmaji, the Lord has manifested like this, and please come down to install him in the temple. The temple is being constructed, and only you can install Lord Jagannath in his temple." Of course, Lord Brahma knows all this. He says, "Okay, you go down by and by, I will come, make all preparations, and I will come." But let me tell you, Emperor Indradumna, that the time period in Brahmaloka is different from the time period in Martiloka. So while you have come here, one Manvantar has finished. You came, it was first Manvantar, Swayambhuva Manu. But when you go back, it is the time period of the second Manvantar, Swarachisa Manu. And so your kingdom is gone, your progenies have all finished. However, you go and make arrangements and I will come. So Indradumna comes down, he is worried. The one Manvantar is gone. Is the temple there or not? Or the enemies have destroyed it? But he comes to Purushottam Shetra and finds the temple lovely, looking beautiful, huge, 1,000 feet high, 1,500 feet high, and looking glorious, gorgeous. But when he goes inside the temple, he finds a small little Madhava Murti there. So, who placed this here? This temple is meant for Lord Jagannath. I constructed for Lord Jagannath, but I see a small Madhava Murti. He removes that Madhava Murti and places it in another temple. Now, this Murti was placed by the king of Utkala. At that time, in the second Manvantar, his name was King Gala. King Gala hears this news, he is infuriated, says, "Look, who removed my God from the temple?" And he comes to fight. But when he comes to Purushottam Shetra, he hears about Emperor Indradumna, about his going to Brahmaloka and coming down. All that is known by legend. So, oh my God, this is Emperor Indradumna. I have to serve him, not fight him. Okay? So he comes and does Dandavat Pranam to Maharaja Indradumna and says, "Oh, please tell me what I can do to serve you." So, with the help of the king of Utkala, the chariots are constructed, 3 huge chariots in the Bodhicha temple, that is the Alapa Mandapa where the Lords have manifested. And the first Rath Yatra takes place from that Mandapa to the main temple. When the Lords have arrived on the chariots in the main temple, Lord Brahmaji descends from his Brahmaloka in his Vimana and then goes up to each chariot. Lord Balabhadraji's chariot, Lord Jagannath's chariot, and Devi Shubhadra's chariot, and prays to the Lord and invoking them in the highest. Those prayers are really, those stutis are really something to be read of the highest philosophical order. And then there is the procession of the Lords into the temple, and Lord Brahmaji installs Lord Jagannath, Balabhadra, Shubhadra in that first Adi Mandir in Purushottam Shetra. After the installation is over, Brahmaji then chants the Nrsimha mantra and touches the body of the Lord, and suddenly the four distinct deities, Lord Balabhadra, Jagannath, Shubhadra and Sudarshan, they merge into one huge image of Lord Nrsimha and looking very ferocious, and the whole place starts trembling and everyone is scared. I mean, Indradumna and all his people who are there assembled, they're all scared and shivering, and Maharaj Indradumna prays to Lord Brahma, Lord, we are all scared, please make the Lord resume his former form. And then Lord Brahma again chants some mantras, and the Lords resume their previous form. Then Emperor Indradumna asks Lord Brahma that we can't understand this. Why did the Lord who had manifested in wooden form took this very ferocious form? We can't understand, we are confused, please explain. Then Lord Brahma explains. Now this is very important. The real potency or the real power or the real mystery behind Lord Jagannath. Please read this wonderful statement of Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma says this to Indradumna: thinking it is a wooden image, O preeminent king, let there not be the idea in you that this is a mere image. This is verily the form of Supreme Brahma, Parama Brahma Akriti. As Param Brahma takes away all sorrows, Khandanat Sarva Dukkhanam, and confers eternal bliss, Akhanda Ananda Danataha, he is known as Daru. Okay? According to the four Vedas, therefore, the Lord is manifest in the form of Daru. So, the Daru word is explained as that divine power which removes all our sorrows and confers eternal bliss. Now, in this human body, what are we looking for? Okay? Everything that we do in our daily life, whether it is family relationship or friends or the office work or the money or a movie or a laptop, what are we looking for? Ultimately, happiness. Happiness and peace are two sides of the same coin. So, as a human being, we are in search of happiness. Why only human being? Even a flower is in search of happiness. Even an elephant in the forest is in search of happiness. Everyone is in search of happiness, but it is only in the human birth you can reach the eternal happiness, where there is no sorrow and there is continuous experience of that bliss, which is eternal happiness. This is the experience of all our great rishis. And even all the living saints today, they are the examples and sort of exemplary models before us that in this human birth, you can achieve a state of complete happiness. Every moment of happiness, not an iota of sorrow. Our experience is just the opposite. If we see our daily life, mostly tension, problems, sometimes misery, sometimes sorrow, and beach mein just little bit happiness that comes, and then before we know, it disappears. And again problems and challenges and tensions, isn't it? So what we really are desiring is happiness. So the Lord is in Daru form, because Daru here means that divine Param Brahma who removes away all our sorrows and confers eternal bliss. So, and then Lord Brahma says, he is the creator of the entire universe. He has also created himself. Now this takes us back to the story of the carpenter. The carpenter was none other than the Lord himself. He has created himself in this particular situation in Purushottam Shetra. And then Brahmaji is continuing. This Lord, this is very important. This Lord pervades all forms. Sarvam Rupa Mayo Yesha. Means this Lord is Lord Vishnu, this Lord is Lord Shiva, this Lord is Lord Ganesha, this Lord is Lord Devi Durga. All the gods and goddesses worshipped by mankind, He is all those forms. Not only that, He pervades all forms, means not only the divine forms that He worships, but the entire universe. He pervades all objects in all forms in this whole creation. If you remove the Lord, the creation becomes zero. It is the presence of the Lord which sustains the universe, which makes the cosmic drama possible. It is His power which sustains, maintains, creates and dissolves this entire cosmic drama. Therefore, He pervades and permeates all forms in this entire creation. And also, the Lord Brahma says, He permeates all mantras. Sarva Mantramaya Prabhu. All the mantras that we chant for all the gods and goddesses, Lord Jagannath is all those mantras. So in whichever form mankind chooses to worship the Lord Jagannath accepts all those. Then Lord Brahma is saying, in whatever way He is worshipped by anyone. Now here anyone does not mean Hindu. Anyone here is the entire mankind, anyone who is capable of worshipping. It means anyone. And not only on this planet Earth, but in the entire universe. How do we know? How do we conclude that there is only life on this planet of Earth, this planet of ours, beautiful planet of ours, that can be Earth in another galaxy? Yeah, so possibilities are there. So anyone worshipping the Supreme Lord is worshipping that one Lord. So the message is very clear that God is essentially one. Okay? His manifestations can be infinite. Lord has infinite powers. So out of compassion and kindness, He manifests in different forms to please the devotee. But the Lord is all forms and also beyond all forms. So wherever anyone worships Him, it is going to that one source. So in whatever way He is worshipped by anyone, accordingly does He confer fruits on him. Okay? Just as well purified gold, when shaped according to one's choice, gets this or that name in this world and brings about this or that satisfaction. Okay? With such glory, the Lord has become manifest here. So when the Lord's glory and the real mystery of Lord Jagannath is explained to Lord Brahma, the Rishi Narada hints at to Emperor Indraprastha, look, this is the time. The Lord is so pleased with you. You have done such great deeds and such sacrifice and devotion. Ask a boon. Lord will certainly not refuse you. So if I was there, I would give him a complete shopping list, right? So, but Indraprastha asks only one thing: Oh Lord, how may I serve you? Okay, just one thing: how may I serve you? This is the fundamental underlying concept of Sanatana Vedic Dharma, not only of our Vedic Dharma, but for all the religions around the world. But actually, we are all servants of the Lord. Our real role and purpose in life as human beings is to serve the Lord, is to get nearer to the Lord and seek His grace. Okay? So, our real essential identity is that of Sevak of the Lord. Sooner we understand, the better it is for us, and our life will become more beautiful. So, Indraprastha has only one thing to ask: Oh Lord, how may I serve you? And then the Shastra says, the Lord, although having assumed a wooden form, starts to speak, and He commands Indraprastha that you will do these things for me. Daily worship, how you to do. Throughout the year, what festivals will celebrate for me, including Rath Yatra, Snani Yatra, all those things are listed. The Lord gives him a complete menu. And of course, Indraprastha then, thereafter, the Katha goes, that of course, Brahmaji goes back to the local, then the Vishnu goes back. And Indraprastha performs all these rituals for Lord Jagannath, but then he has no more interest in remaining in Baldeo, because having gone to Brahmaloka and become really liberated, he says it's time for me to go back, and he hands over the responsibility to the King Gala, the King of Utkala, that you now perform all these commands of Lord Jagannath, and see that everything goes on nicely. And Pullu then takes over the responsibility, and that is how the tradition has come down till now, so far as the worship of Lord Jagannath is concerned. Now let us look at the other aspect which is very important, that He is the Lord of all. He is all-inclusive, and the entire humanity can worship Him, do worship Him, irrespective of their religious beliefs, irrespective of their sampradaya, transcending all distinctions, they worship the one Lord in the form of Lord Jagannath. That is what we see in history. So those who are worshippers of Lord Mahavira, Jaina, they worship Lord Balabhadra as Samyak Jnana, perfect knowledge, Devi Shubhadra as Samyak Charitra, perfect conduct, and Lord Jagannath as Samyak Drishti, perfect vision. And during the 2nd century BC, 1st century BC, Jainism was very, very prominent in Kalinga. And we had a very famous emperor there in Uttar Pradesh, Kalinga, whose name was Kharaveda. And if you go to Bhubaneswar, you have this Khandagiri cave which was in there. That was the place of Emperor Kharaveda, and this is Jaina. And so the Jainas worship Lord Jagannath also. And the followers of Buddha, Lord Buddha, worship Lord Jagannath as Buddha, Lord Balabhadra as Dharma, and Devi Shubhadra as Sangha. And Buddhism also flourished in Orissa in a big way during the pre-Christian era, so to say. And we know that Ashoka, the great Emperor Ashoka, he had conquered most of India, and when he came to the borders of Orissa, then probably known as Kalinga, there was a great battle with the king of Kalinga, and this was in 261 BC. And there was so much bloodshed that there was a transformation of Ashoka, and there were some Buddhist monks who were passing thereby, and they preached to Ashoka, and Chanda Ashoka became Dharma Ashoka. So this was the great kind of Lord Jagannath. Buddhism started flourishing and spread all over because of Emperor Ashoka. And it is said that the Danta, the sacred tooth relic of Buddha, was kept in Puri for some time before it went to Sri Lanka. So then Bhagavad Adi Shankaracharya was the first Acharya in our Sanatana Vedic tradition that we know in history who came to Puri. Now when he came to Puri, there are two views. The modern historians say 8th century, but the traditional viewpoint is sometime in the 4th century BC. The records in Govardhana Pitha, the Shankara Pithas in Puri, in Dwarka and Sringeri do disclose that too. But let us not go into that. But the fact remains that Adi Shankara came to Puri during his Bharata Yatra, Padabraja. And as you know, Adi Shankara revived the worship of the great deities in the various places in Badrinath and other places also. So when he came to Puri, he found a temple there in a dilapidated condition, but no God there, no Lord there. And he knew the great Mahatmya of Lord Jagannath, having studied the Puranas. And he said, this is a great place and the Lord is not here. So he told the king, where is the Lord? Look for the Lord, find the Lord. So the king sent his emissaries and they found the Lord deep in the forests of central Orissa in a place called Suvarnapur or Sonpur. The fact is that 144 years before that, there was a great invasion. And the king at that time, king of Uttar, could not protect the kingdom. And to save the lords, they took the lords and hid them in a cave there. For several years they were in the cave. When the Sevaks did not get any news from the king, so they could not stay there any longer in the dense forest. They dug a hole, put the lords there, started people appeared, and then went off to the village. So finally, at the time of Adi Shankaracharya, they found the king's emissaries found the place where the Lord was buried. They covered them, brought them to Puri, and the first Navaka Levara of the Lord took place there. New bodies were made because the old bodies were not in a shape of being worshipped. And it was Bhagavad Adi Shankaracharya who laid out the entire ritual system according to the Skanda Purana. When we studied the Skanda Purana and the other Shastras, Adi Shankaracharya revived the worship of the Lord Jagannath and Mahaprasad and all of the things were revived, the yatras were revived. And so this was in the time of Adi Shankaracharya, and Adi Shankaracharya established the Math in Puri, known as Govardhana Matha, and the Shankaracharya Puri is now even the Param Guru, the Adi Guru for all matters relating to Jagannath Temple and of course relating to our Sanatana Dharma. So he is one of the four great Shankaracharyas. Sorry. It's significant to know that in this Puri Pitha, he installed his senior-most disciple. His 4 disciples were installed in the 4 Shankara Pithas, primary principal Shankara Pithas in India. And in Govardhana Pitha Puri, he installed his most senior disciple, Dhammapada, as the first Shankaracharya. And Adi Shankaracharya gave the 4 Vedas to the 4 Pithas, 1 Veda to each Pitha to propagate. And to Puri Pitha, Govardhana Pitha, he gave the first Veda, the Rig Veda, which is the most important Veda. So, in the thinking of Prabhupada Adi Shankaracharya, the very paramount importance of Purushottam Shetra becomes apparent because his senior-most disciple and the most important Veda is given to the Puri Pitha. So thereafter, very interesting, this will be a little bit of surprising news that we have several scholars who have come out with this finding that Jesus Christ, during 13 years of his early life, when he is no longer seen in the Middle East, there is no record, no evidence, he is traveling east. And the destination is Jagannath Puri. There are several books, beginning with the first one which is given here, The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ. This is Nicholas Notovich, who is a Russian traveler who is traveling the Himalayas. He comes to this monastery in Ladakh in a day, called Himis Monastery. When he reaches there, the Lamas tell, your God has come here, your Prabhu has come here. He can't understand, he can't believe. Then they get the Pali scriptures to him, and there the entire narration of Christ's 13 messengers is given there. He writes it down, notes it down in Russian language, goes and publishes it. Subsequently, months later, Swami Avedananda was Guru Bhai of Swami Vivekananda, and then the Vice President of the Ramakrishna Mission. He is traveling in USA, and he finds this book of Notovich, can't believe it. So when he goes back to India, he also travels to the Himalayas, to the same Himis monastery with his disciple, and he sees the same text, and he sort of translates it in Bengali and publishes in the second book called Kashmir of Tibet. So that is there. And then subsequently, very interestingly, Christian parish priest, probably in Chicago or someplace, comes out with this book, Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ, where he specifically writes that a prince of Odisha is gone to Jerusalem. Now, Odisha and Kalinga had very good, prominent maritime trade with the eastern world, going up to Baldeo, Java, Sumatra, and the western world going up to the Middle East. So, it's possible that the prince of Odisha is there in the temple of the Jews, and there he sees in the festival of Passover, the Jewish festival, a young boy talking words of wisdom with the rabbis. He is impressed, the prince is impressed, and he goes with the young boy to his father, the carpenter Joseph, and says that this young boy is talking words of wisdom, and all this wisdom is very much there in the east, in India. Let me take the young boy there. So, it's the prince of Odisha, according to this parish priest, Christian priest, that the Christ comes there and stays in Puri for 3 years. Subsequently, scholars from Europe and America have also done research, a lot of research, and also said that what is given here is actually true. I will not go into further details, but these are the books you can take it and you can have a look at it. The interesting thing, as you see here, the journey of Christ comes and ends in Jagannath. This is what the scholars have given this from the book. So very interesting. And so then we have the present temple being constructed in the 12th century, as you heard, started by King Shubhadra in the 12th century, and that is the time of Sri Ramanujacharya, the founder Acharya of Vishishta Advaita school, and he comes and advises the king regarding the worship to be done. So we have Adi Shankaracharya also giving advice and setting up the rituals, practices, and then we have Sri Ramanujacharya also coming and adding further Vaishnava traditions into the worship. So Lord Jagannath's tradition is a simulation of different sampradayas, thoughts and ritual systems. Very interesting. So Ramanujacharya visited Puri twice, in 1107 and 1117 AD, and set up his monasteries. So it's all the Vaishnavas of his Sri Sampradaya worship Lord Jagannath in their own Sampradayic manner. Then we have Nimbarkacharya, who is the founder of the Dvaita school of Vedanta. He also comes to Puri and worships Lord Jagannath in his own way, in their own Sampradayic way, and establishes the monasteries in Puri. And then we have Madhvacharya's disciples, also the founders of the Dvaita school of Vedanta, to which our ISKCON Parampara belongs. They also come to Puri and worship Lord Jagannath in their own Dvaita Parampara way. Okay? So we have the Advaita followers worshipping Lord Jagannath in their own way. We have the Dvaita followers of Lord Jagannath worshipping them in their own way. Okay? Sant Kabir, also his great Sufi saint, also comes to Puri sometime in the maybe 15th century and worships Lord Jagannath, of course, from outside probably. I don't know whether he went inside. So he also worships Lord Jagannath. He comes to Purushottam Dham. And then Vallabhacharya also visits Puri. He is the founder of the Suddha school of Vedanta, and he also establishes a mutt. So his Sampradaya disciples also worship Lord Jagannath. And of course, Sri Chaitanya comes to Puri from Navadvip, and he visits Puri first in 1510, then in 1512. Finally, the last years of his life from 1516 to 1533, he stays put in Puri, doing the Nam Sankirtan and the Mahima of Lord Jagannath. Of course, he sees Lord Jagannath as non-different from Sri Krishna. So, Sri Chaitanya worships Lord Jagannath in his own way. And then we have Guru Nanak Ji also coming to Puri sometime in the beginning of the 16th century, probably around 1506 AD. And he has darshan of Lord Jagannath, and on the seashore composes a very, very famous bhajan for Supreme Lord, which is now sung in every Gurdwara around the world. So that was composed on the sea beach of Puri by Guru Nanak Ji, and there is a holy sacred well which is still there in Puri, which with the grace of Guru Nanak Ji, people wanted to drink water, and it's close to the sea. Sea has got salt water, but here they have fresh water coming out from the ground. So the Holy Sahib is there. So it's a great place for Guru Nanak Ji and his followers to also worship Lord Jagannath in their own way. And because of the great teaching of Guru Nanak Ji, the glory of Lord Jagannath, Maharaj Ranjit Singh was so impressed that he presented the Kohinoor diamond to Lord Jagannath. So this is very good news, but then the bad news is that it is in the Tower of London. And we can't do anything about it. Our governments have failed to make any headway with the British government, so that's the end of the story. So anyway, Maharaj Ranjit Singh Ji was so much inspired by Guru Nanak Ji's preaching and the devotion to Lord Jagannath that his main, glory, crown glory of his treasury, the Kohinoor, he dedicated and willed to Lord Jagannath. So I think that is how we conclude, and I think we have taken a long time, and thank you for your patient hearing. And we will now do we have for question and answers? Do we have any time? Do we have time for question and answers? 10-15 minutes, okay? So who will do the anchoring? Anyone? Or we can just come up with the questions. Okay, so someone can give the mic to him, hand mic. All questions relating to Lord Jagannath. Don't ask me about politics. Don't ask me about hockey or anything. Just ask me about Lord Jagannath and we'll try to discuss. Please give a mic to him.
ऐसे बोल दीजिए दीपक।
ऐसे बोल दीजिए
दीपक जी ऐसे बोल दीजिए। दे दो।
Hare Krishna, thank you Maharaj. This was the most excellent presentation I've ever heard of Lord Jagannath, and I'm very grateful for the presentation. I have a that when King Indradyumna asked Jagannath ji what is the best way to please you, to serve you, he gave a list. Now of course we are not in that position to follow that list. So sitting here in Manchester, what is the best way to please Lord Jagannath?
Thank you. Very good question. Very good question. You see, that list which was given by the Lord himself, commandments to Maharaj Dibyasingha, you will find it in the second volume of the Skanda Purana Purushottam Chitra Mahatmya, which has been published in English by the Divine Life Society, the organization founded by our Param Gurudev Swami Shubhadra in Rishikesh. It's in 2 volumes. If you want it in Hindi, then it's published by our Jagannath Temple Administration Puri, and I will ask Siva to be the coordinating point. Those who would like to get those books can coordinate with him, and he will then find out ways and means to get those books. So in that book, particularly in the second volume, you will find the total list. It's huge. Now please remember 2 things. That here we are talking of worshipping the Supreme Lord. So the entire paraphernalia has to be according to that. Just like, let us say, in Buckingham Palace, you have the great paraphernalia of the British royalty. So many staff, so many ceremonies in a day, or let us say, the President of India and Gajpati Maharaj Shri, so many protocols. So what about the President of the world, President of the universe? So the commandments of the Lord is in tune with that, number 1. Number 2, we must understand that this commandment was given in Satyuga, when a lot of things were possible. Today, we are highly minimized in our resources and our capabilities. So what is possible today, we find from the Jagannath Temple of Puri. So what is being done today in Jagannath Temple of Puri has been compiled in a book called Record of Rites, again in 2 volumes. What exactly is happening there? So if you want a copy of that, that's a little difficult to get, but it's possible. But again, it is of little use because it's very elaborate, very complex. As I said, here we are worshipping the Supreme Lord, not an incarnation of the Lord. So perhaps in the Jagannath Temple of Puri, you will find rituals so complex and so elaborate, you will not find it in any other place of worship anywhere in the world. There are about 5,000 sevaks in the service, and very complex, very difficult job to carry out, but if they're doing it, that is not possible in your temple here. Okay? So now, again, our Jagannath Temple Administration has come up with a small booklet, which unfortunately is in Oriya, but Sibo can get it and you're free to translate it into English or Hindi. That book is called Jagannath Temple Construction and Seva Puja. That gives all the ritual worship done in Jagannath Temple Puri, in short, and all the yatras, festivals carried out in Jagannath Temple Puri, briefly stated, and other things. But as I said, what is being done in Jagannath Temple Puri, no other temple in the world, Jagannath Temple can carry it out. It's not possible. So for the temples around the world, another book is there again, unfortunately in Oriya, we will send a soft copy to him and you can translate it. What is the minimum daily worship you should do for Lord Jagannath? What is the minimum festivals you should carry out for Lord Jagannath in temples around the world? That is given there. So have a look at that. And the Odia speaking devotees will help you to understand that, and you can also translate it and send it around. Okay? So please do that. It's important. You see, every deity that we worship has a distinct tradition. If we worship Sri Krishna, we have to follow the narration in the Srimad Bhagavad Mahapurana mainly. If we worship Lord Rama, we have to follow Ramayana or the Ramacharita. If we worship Lord Shiva, then the Shiva Purana and the various scriptures. We have to worship Lord Jagannath as it is given out, prescribed in the scriptures. We cannot do it apna ichha ho, apna ko jo pasand aaya. That's all right in your home you can do, but in a public temple where it is lords are installed in a very elaborate Vedic Purana Pratishtha, it is important that each deity must be performed according to the Vedic tradition as given out in the Vedic scriptures. Okay.
Maharaj, first of all, we are very honored to be here in presence of your the main sevak of Jagannath Puri. And this question is about this of seeker trying to seek the truth, which is I've heard that the heart of Lord Krishna is still there and it's being taken out every 12 years and mended or is being treated or whatever. Is that true? And the question is that is the Brahma Padartha and the Nil whatever you call it, Nil Madhav, is that the same thing? Or could you elaborate it for me and for us?
Let me try to do that. I understand the question very well. It's a very good question. You see, the uniqueness of the worship of Lord Jagannath, which perhaps we don't find in Sanatana Vedic Dharma, is this: that in the first stanza of this Purushottama Kshetra Mahatmya, when the Rishi disciple is asking Maharishi Jaimini, how come the Supreme Lord manifested in this wooden form in Purushottama Kshetra, the first statement which Maharishi Jaimini makes is that Manusya Lila. When a Lord, Supreme Lord, is performing his Lila like a human being. So therefore he is manifested in this form. So when we take that statement a little forward and try to understand it, the Lord as he is made out in Puri, as I said, it's daru, but it is not only wood, it's margosa wood actually. It's not only wood, the Lord is constructed every time there is a Dhruva Asada. There is a Malmash in the month of Ashada, according to our lunar astrological Indian calendar calculation. Whenever there is an extra month of Ashada, the Lord's body is changed. Okay? Complete body transformation. As it was indicated, this is known as Nava Kalevara. The Lord assuming the new body. This signifies the human life where we, at the end of our journey in this body, we drop our body and then assume another body. It's called transmigration, right? We believe in that. But the body is dropped, but there is something from the body, a very subtle essence which is called Atma or Jivatma, which goes from body to body. That goes on in an eternal spiritual journey till ultimate liberation. And that ultimate liberation is what? As we heard, Akhanda Ananda Dhanataha. Sarva Dukkhara. All sorrows come to an end and complete establishment and complete eternal bliss, that is complete mukti, then that merges with the infinite. Okay? And that is the goal of the human life according to the scriptures and according to the great saints. So, until then, We go from birth to death and again birth to death. So Lord Jagannath shows this in his own worship, that every time there is an extra month of Ashada, I give up my body, my physical body, completely. But just like the Jivatma goes from body to body, within me there is this Brahma Vastu. In us it is the Jivatma, in the Lord's body there is Brahma. Okay? And that Brahma is removed from the old body and placed in the new body. Now what that Brahma is, no one knows. Even the Sevak, only one Sevak does that change from body to body. Actually in that chamber which is dark, there are only 4 persons there. 3 of them are Daitapati Sevaks, who are the Daita Sevaks, who are descendants of the original Savara worshippers of Lord Jagannath. And one of them is Pati Sevak, who is the descendant of Vidyapati in that line. He is a Brahmin. Okay? So this Brahmin Sevak, the 2 images are put side by side, the old image and the new image, and they are opened up. The other layers are all removed, outer layers. Only the inner main layer, that is the wood, is there, neat wood. And he is sort of blindfolded, so it's almost blindfolded, and his hand is padded, so he does not know, he does not feel, he does not perceive. What is that he is removing from the old and placing in the new? It is Brahma. Now, our Shastras make it very clear that with our limited capability, our Karmendriya, our Jnanendriya, including the mind and intellect, we cannot perceive the Supreme Lord. If the Brahma is perceived, then it is not Brahma. It cannot be Brahma. It will be an object, it will be matter. And the Lord is beyond matter, and He is beyond our perception. So that is exemplified in this ritual, where the Brahma is transferred from the old to the new, but what is that is not known. And I said, it cannot be Krishna, because Lord Jagannath comes much before Krishna. Okay? And it cannot be Madhava also, because Madhava totally disappears. And he reappears in this. So what is this? We do not know. And if we know it, then it cannot be Brahma. Okay? So this is the uniqueness of the worship of Lord Jagannath, that it sort of replicates, or it shows our existence, not only human life, all life. There is the body, which is there for some time, and at the end of the life journey, it comes to an end, it is dropped off, goes back to the elements, but there is some subtle Atma, some divine essence which goes from body to body. So that is there in the case of Lord Jagannath, we see that. Not only that, we see